let's talk about the summer window, and we'll talk about the players that we have brought in so far. And there's not many to get through.
Yeah, it's 4 signings, isn't it?
Yeah.
So first of all, John Ruddy in goal.
Good appointment. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
I think
because with the Etheridge things as well, with all the nonsense with the contracts, I was a little bit worried when that news broke that we were going to have to play a youngster or G-Cock. Yeah. And I like G-Cock, but he had such a mare against Blackpool. I feel like if we played him week in, week out, he'd be destroyed.
Let's talk about someone who I can't pronounce. How do you even say his name? I can say his last name.
I googled it earlier, and the best one I got was Chemislav Placheta. Chemislav.
I'm just gonna stick with Pepe.
Okay, we'll stick with.
I like the ones on Twitter I've been seeing.
That came out of nowhere, didn't it? Where they just tweeted, well, at least for me, they just tweeted Pepe with a photo of him, and I don't think there'd been any interviews where you'd heard that as a nickname.
Oh man, yeah,
it makes it easier, doesn't it? So
we as fans are simple people, so let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
So Pepe, I mean, what do we think of him?
Well,
I don't know much about him, I'll be honest.
Neither do I, to be honest. But I heard that he's quick, so it could be helpful out wide.
So is he the? Because obviously we've got him from Norwich as well, where we've got a decent relationship with Norwich, I suppose. You know, Hernandez deal. And...
That's what I was hoping for. Sam McCallum on loan.
Oh, that would have been brilliant.
Yeah,
still could happen.
I know this. I'm just saying because I was looking the other day before the original recording, and obviously they've got like Giannoulis and people like that, and I was just looking at it thinking, is he going to play? But obviously it's a bit of a far stretch at the moment. But in terms of Pepe, I mean, one thing I said already on Twitter as well was obviously there was rumours of him coming in before Eustace was even appointed. So I mean, I know a little bit about Placheta. So he started out in the Polish league before Norwich brought him in, and he built a bit of reputation in Europe for being this sort of Adama Traore-like player, but obviously without the physicality, just in terms of the raw pace. But obviously his end product was lacking. And then I think he had a good season end product wise, and then moved to Norwich, played a little bit in the Championship and the Prem, but never got the consistent game time. And obviously that's led to this loan out to us. I mean, in terms of how he fits in, I'm not entirely sure, because obviously there was rumours of him coming in before Eustace was even appointed. So he's an out and out winger. He's never played any other position. He said in his interview that, I think he was asked the question, you've played down the middle before, is that something you're interested in? And he basically just said no, to put it quite simply. So I'm not entirely sure how he fits in. Obviously in pre-season he's been playing left wing back. I wouldn't want him in that position for 46 games. I think if I was an opposition manager looking at the team, first thing, if I see him in a defensive role, if you can call left wing back a defensive role anymore, I would. That's the first place I would target. I think he's got a lot to prove this season in terms of end product, which will at this level, which will hopefully motivate him to obviously to prove to Norwich I'm good enough. But I just think at the end of the day, it's another loan. That's the problem for me. It's just so many temporary deals to keep us going, keep us up, and then eventually. We need to start actually building some proper foundations with a manager, and obviously that's not happened with Eustace as of yet, but it didn't really happen with any of them apart from maybe Karanka. I mean, Karanka really brought it. You could tell that transfer window, that was Karanka's team.
Yeah,
the players he brought in, George Friend, Adam Clayton, these are like his
Sanchez
rocks.
And those
exactly,
players,
exactly. And then you go to Bowyer. Did he ever bring in anyone other than maybe Lecco and Anike, who you could say, like, that is a Lee Bowyer, these are the foundations. I mean, it was just loans like Castillo, for example,
Castillo, oh my God.
Interestingly enough, though, Lecco was a Karanka signing.
Oh, yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
so that was strange.
Yes.
But Lee Bowyer was obviously knew him from Charlton anyway, but even then he didn't like him, so he bummed him out.
He didn't like him at all. Lecco is still in the squad.
Sorry, I've literally got a poster on my wall of Lecco in the Karanka kit there. Should have looked over there. Yeah.
Although Bowyer was at the end of the season there, though.
Yeah. To be fair.
There are two other signings that we need to very quickly cover before we move on. First of all, very quickly, Finlay Thorndyke,
Oh,
an attacking midfielder. I presume that he is Richard Thorndyke's son. Now, Richard Thorndyke, if you're not aware, my cousin is very aware of who this is the owner, and I think he's the chairman of Alvechurch FC, who we talked about earlier, where Jaycock had his massive howler. Now, Richard Big Dick Thorndyke, is Dick for Richard.
Yeah, I can say that.
He's a character. That's what we'll say. I've been to a couple of Alvechurch games. It's always good fun. So I imagine that he's a rich kid who's played football his whole life, and he's from Birmingham, and Birmingham have just gone, do you know what? Pop him in the list. Hopefully he's good. Never know.
I mean, he looked all right against, was it Cheltenham? Was that the other night? They didn't see the full game, but from the highlights he was in, he looks pretty decent. Yeah, looked quick on the ball.
How old is he?
He was born in 2002 so he's
okay.
He's
going to be 19.
Yeah,
about 40 years old. Yeah,
that's good.
We're buying into the
youth. So you never know. You know, he could turn out to be another. And like Jordan James, or he could turn out to be someone who we never see in the first team, goes out on loans, plays for the under 23s or under 21s. We'll see. But of course, the big one, Dion Sanderson, who we've covered pretty well earlier on. We're pretty happy, I think, collectively, right?
Yeah.
Dion Sanderson. I did have this debate last season at some point. Would you prefer that we brought Dion Sanderson in for this season, or who was the goalkeeper we had on loan? What was his name?
Matthias Sarkic, yes.
Sarkic. Any day.
I agree, Sarkic. I mean, Sarkic would have been unreal. Because I was such a good goalkeeper.
I was thinking this earlier. It was when Sarkic first came in, he was obviously not at his best, but I had my fingers crossed. Oh, honestly, he's a complete disaster if he had done that game.
That was a shocker.
Yeah. But unfortunately, he was much better. I had my fingers crossed with him for a lot of the season, because I thought if we have a bad goalkeeper, our defence is going to show for that as well, because we can't defend at the best of the time, so we need a decent keeper. So
I mean, were you shocked at how he performed?
Yeah.
I was. I mean, I know he went from sort of a 10 game a season Shrewsbury keeper.
Yeah.
To just being one of the best keepers.
Because I remember he
was I think on
stats.
On like XG saves and all that
best,
whatever. Yeah. He was up there with up there with like Sam Johnston and with the best of the best last season. Yeah. I'm surprised that there aren't teams in the Premier League sniffing about him. You know,
I just don't think
Burnley losing Nick Pope.
They're getting Muric, aren't they? I think.
Oh, what, from City?
Yeah, do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember him?
He played didn't he play for Forest?
Nottingham Forest. Oh my goodness! I remember against West Brom, that first game of that season. I watched it on TV. That was something.
Yeah.
I think that was worse than Sarkic against Northampton. Maybe just.
Oh God! I mean,
I remember with Sarkic because I remember it was the first time I saw it was in the Sheffield United game away, first game, and they bought him out earlier than anybody else to practice saves, and that immediately made me worried. But it seemed to work in a weird sort of way, because it was like he was warming up before everybody else did. Because I can imagine when you're out there as a goalkeeper, particularly, when you're warming up for the second half, it gets you that advantage because you probably stood around for a couple of minutes before there's even a chance at you. But yeah,
I mean, at that level, I suppose any little advantage you can give yourself, and I do remember in that Sheffield United game, he made like one error and we got away with it. And it was like, and everyone was going, because he made a couple of good saves. Everyone was going, oh, this keeper's so good. He's going to be like, already forget about Etheridge. Don't need Etheridge. We've got Sarkic. And obviously Etheridge, because he only came in because Etheridge was suffering badly from COVID. Because he was expected to literally come in and be a backup. It was going to be Etheridge and then Sarkic, then Truman, and then Jaycock. He suffered badly from COVID and just couldn't get a sniff back in the team.
No.
And then even when Sarkic, I mean, that was a freak injury. Do you remember where that shoulder injury? It was his shoulder, wasn't it, or his elbow? Shoulder. It was something to do with his. It was something to do with his right arm, and was it against QPR as well?
No, it was the first game of the new year, wasn't it?
I can't remember who it was against. But it was a freak injury, and even then, the Lee Bowyer was hastened to put Etheridge back in goal. You know, tried out Jaycock, tried out Truman for a few games, and
he was in. Etheridge was in net against Millwall away. I can't remember what that was now.
Yeah,
because that was sort of early December.
Sarkic was meant to play. There was something happened. I think Sarkic had like an illness, like a stomach bug or something. I seem to remember something like that. I could just be talking out my arse, to be fair. That is mostly what we do on this show.
Yeah, tune in.
So we've got a few youngsters, of course. Would it be a blue show if we didn't talk about youngsters? There's a few that played last season that, you know, some have got more hype than others. You know, I mean, obviously Jordan James is signed a new contract, as has Joe Bellingham, which was Bellingham signing a professional contract was a huge deal.
Yep.
He's the moneymaker in this.
Exactly.
He is.
New year.
He really
era,
is.
Yeah.
This is what that's the position we're in. You got to look at these young players as moneymakers. Really,
Unfortunately,
exactly, because you can't really think of it in any other way. You can't think, oh yeah, great. Right, if we had a full team of world-class youngsters, then fantastic. You know, get promoted, keep them. But that's not how it works. You know, we've got to pick and choose with our academy, and obviously just been downgraded as well, hasn't it, to grade 2, I think. As well.
I don't know how much. Like it's obviously a big error for the club to lose that Category 1 status after only a year, but I think we can still make good of what the players we've got.